the largest city in the nation without any rail-based transit may finally be on the verge of ending that sad distinction. Columbus, Ohio, with 900,000 people and 2.1 million in the metro, is the largest city in the nation without passenger rail connections to other cities or any form of rail transit like light rail or subway. But thanks to major new investments like the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act and the city's LinkUS plan, that may be about to change. The details of how these opportunities are leveraged really matter. As we'll dig into, Columbus has a disconcerting track record of squandering opportunities to improve transit in the city. So our advocacy is critically needed to ensure Columbus becomes a more livable and more equitable place. And the lessons learned here can be applied across the Heartland. Welcome to Heartland Urbanist. Let's dig in. I'm Matt Caffrey, a dad and an organizer based in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a transit enthusiast who loves walkable places and not having to wrestle my toddler into a car seat to go on basic errands. I'm starting this channel to help shine a light on urbanism in the Midwest, what's good, what's bad, and how we can help advocate to make things better. For this first video, we'll be focusing on my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. So, Chapter 1, Columbus. Columbus is extremely car dependent. 90% of commuters drive, compared to only 6% that take a bike, walk, or take a bus. Yet more than 10% of households don't have access to a reliable car. So in Columbus, they're left without options. This isn't about preference. It's real for people who can't get to work, to education, to healthcare. It's even been linked to higher rates of child mortality in Columbus. The city's challenges aren't just a lack of rail transit. The city's bus system is mediocre, with poor connectivity between neighborhoods and low frequency on almost all of the routes. The city has just 1 mile of protected bike lanes and hasn't meaningfully expanded the network in years. One comparative bright spot is walkability, with a number of walkable neighborhoods, especially in the central corridor, but travel between these nodes requires a car. The history of transit in Columbus gives us important context to how we got to this point. Columbus had an extensive streetcar network with 700 miles of track, and many of its neighborhoods were developed based on that network. Today, those neighborhoods are walkable and with a bit of investment could be highly bike-friendly and ready to be connected by great transit. But fast forward to today, and decades of massive investment in highways and no meaningful investment in transit has led to sprawl, already bad and getting worse. Check out this map showing population change between 2000 and 2010. You'll see that much of the urban core is shrinking, especially in low-income neighborhoods and those that are majority-minority, while the suburbs along the Beltway are booming. This will be supercharged by Intel's recently announced $20 billion investment in the exurbs of Columbus. We're already seeing new homes being built in the suburbs at several times the rate of the urban core, pushing the boundaries of the city further out. And we know that this worsens traffic, pollution, and affordability. But the city has tried to address these challenges in the past. Unfortunately, the history of recent transit projects in Columbus is discouraging. In 2006, an effort to build a new streetcar network downtown lost steam and failed, largely due to cost concerns that never seem to come up when it's time to expand a highway or an airport. In 2016, the city won a $40 million federal Smart Cities grant with an application linking high child mortality to the lack of transit. But unfortunately, the city seemed to largely squander that grant on consultants studying autonomous vehicles and other technologies without meaningfully improving transit. But perhaps most discouragingly, Columbus's first bus rapid transit line, the CMAX, got so watered down that it's really just a slightly more frequent bus with a special sign. There's no dedicated right-of-way, no dedicated bus lane, so it gets stuck in traffic. There's no center of the street stations, which means buses get stuck trying to pull back out after picking up passengers. And there's no off-board payments, so you have to wait while each passenger goes through a single door and pays as they board the vehicle. It's just slow to get on, slow once you're on. Ultimately, it's still a bus. It's an uncomfortable way to travel. So the only people who choose to use transit in Columbus are those who have no other option. So Chapter 2, new developments that may give us some hope. Passed in 2021, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act provides new resources both for intercity rail and for transit. After that bill was passed, Amtrak launched its Connect Us plan, which is a plan that would extend rail service to lots of cities across the country, including Columbus. Specifically, a new line would run from Cincinnati to Dayton to Columbus and ultimately to Cleveland. Ohio would have to be on board for this plan, and that has been a stumbling block in the past. As recently as early 2011, a plan to build a rail corridor along that route was scuttled by an incoming governor who said he would reject the federal funds even if they were awarded. But encouragingly, Ohio did recently request funds to study the new line. So there's more work to do, and of course there are concerns about how this plan would be implemented, but this is one of the most hopeful signs in Columbus's transit history. Meanwhile, Columbus is pursuing a new transit plan locally called LinkUS. The plan would create more frequent and higher service connections along 9 corridors in the city. Currently, the plan calls for bus rapid transit for initial corridors, but future corridors could use rail instead. The bus rapid transit plan that they are pursuing actually looks fairly promising, with a significant portion of the initial corridor using a dedicated right-of-way, a bus lane, with ticketing kiosks at the stations, which themselves look great and some of which will be in the center of the street, and with level boarding, so that if someone with disabilities needs to board the vehicle, you don't have to pause for the bus to be lowered. The plan also includes improvement to the micro-transit environment along the corridor, meaning bike rental stations, new sidewalk and bike lane connections, etc. So these two developments are encouraging, but neither are a done deal, and both could be improved. So let's talk about that. Chapter 3. Maximizing these improvements. So of course we need to make sure that these plans move forward, but there are a few ways that we can improve or extend them. For the new Amtrak connection, it's critical that the line runs multiple times each day so that passengers have options. Otherwise, driving will still have a significant advantage. We also need to ensure a centrally located and transit accessible train station. Parking and car access should not be the only or even the primary consideration. For LinkUS, the city should move forward with urgency. They must maintain the dedicated lanes, good station design, etc., the good elements of the plan. We can't let it get watered down the way that the CMAX bus rapid transit line did. But equally, the plan should be strengthened. More of the route should run in dedicated lanes. Routes should run along more walkable areas with better connections to other areas. Let me explain what I mean. The current plan for the first corridor to be developed, the Northwest Corridor, goes between Olentangy River and the Ohio 315 highway on one side and an elevated freight rail line on the other. It runs along a badly disconnected strip of land between 2 dense walkable neighborhoods, with Ohio State's campus to the east beyond the river and Grandview to the west beyond the railroad. The plan would serve neither neighborhood well. Now, for all the concerns we have, it is possible to build BRT well. A great local example of BRT done right is Cleveland's Healthline, which we'll talk more about in a future video. And of course, we should be moving toward rail transit. We know that rail has many advantages, from long-term lower maintenance to more permanence, so greater economic development impact, to a more comfortable and more, honestly, premium experience that more people are likely to use. We'd love to see rail chosen as the preferred means of transit on future corridors. So, Chapter 4, conclusion. Columbus, we too can have nice things. We can be a city with great transit, where our great walkable neighborhoods are stitched together by frequent and reliable transit rather than torn apart by freeways. And so can other cities across the Midwest. We have to continue to imagine what could be, even as we work to make progress on what's possible now. So what can you do to support these hopeful steps? First, join your local transit advocacy organization. Here in Columbus, that's Transit Columbus. I'll put a link in the description. Secondly, you can directly engage with your elected officials to advocate for these improvements to Columbus's transit. First, call Governor DeWine and encourage him to support Amtrak's new 3C line. And for our local transit, call your city council member and Mayor Ginther and encourage them to support LinkUS. Ask them to push for a stronger plan that prioritizes the best transit for people. When the plan comes to a vote, vote for it and organize your friends and loved ones to vote for it too.
I'd love to hear your reactions to this story in the chat. What else did I miss that I should have covered, and what's going on in your community? If you want to see more videos about transit, housing, and cities, please subscribe to the channel. Heartland Urbanist is originally a PeerTube channel, which is an open source YouTube competitor. You can see all of our videos there on urbanists.video, 1 week sooner than they're posted here on YouTube. And those videos are ad-free. So if you like the content here, we want to encourage you to go over to urbanists.video and subscribe.
So that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching the first episode of Heartland Urbanist, and see you next time.